May I bring these up?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Melissa Bumstead. I'm with Parents Against Santa Susana Field Lab. And I'm pleased to speak on behalf of my community. Over 700,000 people living within miles of one of California's most toxic and radioactive sites, the Santa Susana Field Lab. I'm going to explain that for you in just a sec. My daughter is a 2-time cancer survivor. She is one of over 100 children in our community who have not just pediatric cancer, but exceptionally rare forms of pediatric cancer. My daughter is very fortunate to be a survivor, but we have buried most of her friends from treatment. My site, if you're familiar with it, has independent, peer-reviewed, even a federally funded epidemiological study that shows that contamination from the Santa Susana Field Lab comes off-site into our communities, into our environment where it causes harm. In fact, earlier this year, the Water Board, the LA Regional Water Board, calculated fines for up to $15 million for Boeing Company for polluting the LA River and our surrounding watersheds. So we know even with sister agency data that the contamination does come off-site at the Santa Susana Field Lab. However, when you look at that paper, that little part I highlighted shows nothing. This is Boeing's document. This is the cleanup document that they are basing the cleanup for my community on. And they say there is zero potential for off-site migration. That defies basic science. We know about erosion. We know where the soil is located primarily from fallout in the topsoil and in the groundwater. So through wind, through rainwater, through fire events, the contaminants migrate into our community. And that federally funded study did find direct correlation between residents living closer to the site having elevated cancer risks. This is not a mistake that Boeing accidentally left potential pathways off of this cleanup agreement. This is a legal strategy. The problem is, you kind of expect it from polluters to say that there's no harm to the community, no responsibility, no reason to do a full cleanup because they're saying it can't reach off the invisible line of their property line. The problem is that in this draft document, the DTSC said nothing. Their toxicologist made no remarks. She said, Dr. Hanley said that she did not necessarily agree with it, nor did she disagree with it. There was no comment. This is critical information, and this is just one example. I've been involved in this fight since my daughter was diagnosed since 2015, trying to get a health protective, complete cleanup. Boeing is now saying with this document, they will start the cleanup this fall of the Santa Susana Field Lab. Independent analysis shows that they will leave 90% of the contamination behind, primarily based off this one page, that there's no reach of that contamination to harm the community or the environment, despite independent data, despite Cal EPA data. And we have done everything. I have pretty much devoted my life since my daughter's cancer to make sure other families don't have to go through what my daughter went through. Because if I were to share the stories with you, we would all be traumatized. No child should have to suffer the way that my daughter has, and there are over 100 children in our community, preventable cancers. So what I want to point out is that we like the BES board. We didn't think we would, to be quite honest. We think that the members, I'm not entirely sure right now about having a lobbyist on the board. I think that is ill-advised, even though he seems like a servant of the people. But the rest of the BES board, they listen to us. They hear us. They have a subcommittee for my community. However, they seem to have no power. They look at it, they say, we agree with you, and that's as far as it goes. And it was said earlier that is exhausting to community members. We generate, this is my co-director, we generate reports, we come to every meeting, we sign I cannot even tell you how many hours we have invested in trying to get some real actionable change into this cleanup document that represents actual science, academic advisors coming in, experts coming in. Nothing is changing. The BES board has apparently no ability to move the DTS to do anything else, and we're left with no tools. Even though it's our children that are dying, even though it's our groundwater that's being polluted, even though it's our air being polluted, we have no real power and no agency. So I'm going to ask that you would please increase the ability for the BES to make actual change to the DTSC board, even more than just advisement or letters. We would ask that you would fund them to be able to have an independent scientific site review. That is what we want. We want to have scientific advisors. We want community members to be on that panel. We want it to be collaborative, because right now the DTSC is only required to accept polluter-created data. And if we had time, I would sit down with you line by line and show you where that data has been manipulated. They do not accept any independent science unless they choose to. There is no mandate. And that is of a huge disadvantage with paperwork like this that is so obvious. Any layperson can see that this is dangerous to my community. So on behalf of my community, I ask that you tell the DTSC to stand down on this cleanup document until an independent advisory board can get involved. And I would ask that I don't think there's time now, but we want to see the BS board with more authority, more power, and more funding. Thank you.
Thank you.